Hello friends, Katie here from Imagine Crafts, and today I'm going to show you how to create this super simple baby card. So the products I'm going to be using today are Lilac Posy, Rosebud, Lulu Lavender, and I also am going to use London Fog later in the video. And these are the fireworks sprays. I've got a little stamp set from Honeybee Stamps. I've got some border dies, some watercolor paper, 100% cotton, and a flat watercolor brush. In my little palette wells there, I'm going to add in my Rosebud, my Lilac Posies, and my Lulu Lavender, and the London Fog we're going to bring in a little bit later. So once I add in my colors, I'm going to take my paintbrush there, my watercolor brush, and I'm going to dip it into my colors. Now this particular watercolor brush is really a thirsty brush, so I go in and it soaks all of what I put in there up, and now I'm going to add it to my watercolor paper. Now the in between colors, as I'm doing now, I do rinse my brush and I dry it off, and then what little bit of water is left on there, I use it to go over top just to give a little bit of water so that when I add the next color, everything will flow and blend in nicely. And you can see there's a pretty dramatic color change between the Rosebud and the Lilac Posies, and that's okay. Once I add in this Lulu Lavender here, I'm going to go over top of all of that, and it really blends in nice. So I'm bringing the Lulu Lavender over the top all the way up to the Rosebud, and then I'm going to take a little bit more Rosebud and add that from the top to the bottom, and it blends and makes some really pretty pinky purple colors. So I'm going to go and heat set that and dry it off camera. Then I went through and die cut all my strips from my border die, and I'm going to add some on point glue. So I'm adhering this first one and down to my card base. Now this is a mini slimline card, so this card base measures 6 by 7. It's scored at 3.5 inches. And now I'm adding my on point glue to only the top part of the strip. So where the decorative edge is, I'm not putting any glue on any of the pieces so that I can tuck everything in underneath and have some nice layered dimension. So as I add each color, I basically cut 2 strips of each color section to give a little bit of a gradient as we went down in the decorative strips. And then once I get all those adhered, I am going to show you the same process that I did for the these strips I did for the London Fog to use to die cut my alphabet letters. And so once I think I've only got a couple more strips of those. We're getting into the lighter pinky purpley combination there. And this is our last strip. And for my alphabet dies, I used some Concord 9th, the simple serifs. Great die set, word die set, alphabet die set for creating these letters. So here I'm adding my London Fog to the same watercolor paper, and I did the whole piece even though I wasn't going to need all of it. And off camera I added a second layer. I heat set it and then added a second layer so I get nice thick even coverage of that London Fog. Now here I'm showing you where I go back and forth, but as I get to the end, I take the paintbrush and I go in one direction. That's going to give nice smooth coverage where you don't have any types of lines. So here are my letters cut out. I did cut them out with just some plain gray cardstock. I cut 3 layers of that, and then our 4th layer is our London Fog layer. So we get nice thick chipboard letters, which is great. And now I'm going to use my stamp positioner and add so that I get a nice straight line for my letters. And so I start with the W and the E, the 2 letters at each end, and then I will adhere everything in the middle. And then once I get the letters adhered, I'm going to do my stamping. And I have a little trick that I use to get dimension. instead of using foam tape. Sometimes I don't always have foam tape on hand, and that makes it easy. So here I'm just going to use the same cardstock, or watercolor paper that I used, so we have nice color matching. And I'm going to use my VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp this sentiment, and it says little one, and I'll bring it up here in just a second. I didn't realize I was out of view. I did stamp it twice to get a nice crisp impression, and then I'm going to cut a strip and then trim everything down, but I'm going to take the rest of the strip of cardstock that I had, and I'm just going to use that as my foam tape in its place, and that gives some nice sturdy dimension to be able to pop this sentiment up right above our M and the E in the word welcome. And I do recommend liquid glue because it just gives you some time to work with everything and get everything in place. And that's our little sentiment strip. Now I'm going to pop that up there above the M and the E, and that finishes up the card today, my friends. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to check us out on social media. Tag us at Imagine Crafts, and I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll catch you in the next video.